must be more to life than this. There must be more to life than this. How do we cope in a world without love, mending all the broken hearts and tending to those crying faces? There must be more to life than killing, a better way for us to survive. Why should it be a case of black or white? There must be more to life than this. Why is this world so full of hate, people dying everywhere? And we destroy everything we create, people fighting for human rights. All we ever say is, c'est la vie, this is life. But there must be more to life than killing. There must be more than meets the eye. What good is life if in the end we all must die? There must be more to life than this. There must be more to life than killing. There must be more to life than this. I want to live in a world filled with hope and love. Then we can all just live in peace. Those are the lyrics to a song co-written by Michael Jackson. And do you know the other author? Freddie Mercury. They sang it together. There must be more to life than this. Infinitude, eons, immeasurability. How many of you think you can measure God? Put your hands up. Put your hands up if you think you can measure God. Put your hands up if you think you're here right now. I see some hands that aren't up, so you're not here. That makes sense to me. We're stuck with this concept of infinitude. Infinitude is all about how big is God. And it's difficult because we're finite humans and we like to measure and quantify everything. Everything. And yet we can't quantify God. What we now know through science and the Hubble telescope is there's a lot we don't know. In fact, we have seen so much further than we thought we could even see. Now even the hardcore skeptics who used to say there's nothing are saying we don't know what's all out there. So there's room for God. In fact, what if God, being infinite in and of him or herself, created a world and a universe that is itself infinite? See, I spend all of my time not wanting to be here. You know that about me. And that's not morbid. I don't want to be here. I think my body's limitations and finitude are keeping me down. I want out. The other day I went to see a young man who was 32 years old and he was dying. And he said, I can't wait to get out of here. And I said, I'm with you. Take me with you. He said, I want to go where all the good stuff is because I haven't had much of it here. And he died, smiling and happy as he could possibly be, because he was on his way to his next experience. Now, most people, finite, measurable, small-minded people, are afraid of that journey. They don't want to go. They want to stay here no matter what. And have you ever noticed that all the wrong people die? The ones you wish would die are around. The grumps, the difficult ones, the ones that won't exit. And all the good ones, according to Billy Joel, die young. Don't cough. It's all right. I want to read something to you. Are you ready? It's going to come anyway. Whoever loves money never has enough. Whoever loves wealth is never satisfied with income. As goods increase, so do those who consume them. And what benefit are they to the owner except to feast his eyes on them? The sleep of a laborer is sweet, whether he eats little or much, but the abundance of a rich man permits him no sleep. As a man comes, so he departs. And what does he gain, since he simply toils after the wind? All of his days he eats in darkness, with great frustration, affliction, and anger. Who knows what is good for man in life? During his few and meaningless days, he passes through like a shadow or a mist in the morning fog. Who can tell him what will happen under the sun after he is gone? Pretty bleak description, but accurate, of human existence, isn't it? That's from Ecclesiastes. It's a very accurate picture. We're born, we live, we die. We're finite, we're limited, we're stuck. These bodies require maintenance. It's expensive to stay here. This maintenance costs a lot of money. We have to feed and clothe and take care of this experience that we cling to and call life. And as difficult as it is, we get pissed if it's cut short. Right? We get very angry and we say dumb things like, oh, it's not fair, why me? And we spend all of our money, we'll even mortgage our house 3 and 4 times so we could fly over to Egypt and roll in pink mud in hopes of getting one more year of life. People do that. People do whatever it takes to cure cancer. I think cancer is a damn blessing. The sooner you move out of your body, the better off you are. Now, I realize I'm unusual. But this is interesting. I'm also the most popular, sought-after speaker to cancer groups and support groups where people are facing the finitude of their bodies and having to look into the infinite God next experience spiritual happenings. I can't prove any of the things that I say. I point to the evidence that exists that we all know about. But it's just my own connection with what I think I see and feel. I've never liked being here. Never! When I was a kid, I couldn't wait to die. You should read my poetry. I used to say, this is temporary. I can't wait. Maybe tonight's the night. My mother was vexed by this. She said, what have I done? What have I brought into the world? And I wasn't suicidal, and I ate, and I exercised, and took my vitamins. I did everything right. I just didn't want to be here, and I still don't. I think that the real fun starts when we join the infinitude part of God. Because I think God is a lot larger than we give God credit for. There's a great book called Your God is Too Small by J.B. Phillips. And J.B. Phillips says that basically our concept of God is so tiny, we limit our already limited lives. We limit our capacity to do this and do that, and God is just too small. We make God too little. And it's fascinating because in my role as chaplain, I have a couple of hats I wear, but in the chaplain role, people are always asking me to interact with the infinite for favors. They want favors from the infinite to be bestowed upon the finite. Interesting concept. They grab me and they say, Reverend, that's when they want something. Because I hate that title and they know it. They want me to entreat the infinite and fix something down here in the finite. And they're usually believers, otherwise known as Christians. And I'm a sport aleck about this with them. I'll say, okay, I'll be happy to pray that prayer with you, but let's take a look at what you say you believe with all your heart. Then I show them all the passages passages in the Bible that talk about it's better to be absent from the body and present with the infinite. Ooh, they don't like that. Because see, I'm just trying to, are you a Christian or not? What are you? You say you believe, now it's time to go, and you don't want to go. You want me to ask the infinite for grace, for more time. You like it here that much? Shopping at Publix is a pleasure, but I'll leave any day for the real experience. We get very small-minded because we don't have enough concept of the infinite. Infinitude means that God cannot be measured. God is so large that any problem we have is really incomparable to His capacity. We start to think very small-minded, and we start to grow very closed, and we think our lives should be a certain way. And when bodies start to die, when does that happen, by the way? No. It happens in the womb. You start dying at conception. Did you know that? The moment you are conceived, the moment it starts, death is already in action. Because death must occur for life to occur. It's called the circle of life. Elton John sang a song about it. The Lion King. So we act like we don't understand infinitude, but in fact, we are finite and dropped into this temporary time world. But God's outside of time. That's why I like this particular aspect of God's characteristic. God is timeless. In fact, I can't really correctly use the word timeless when describing God because it doesn't apply. We are timed, and we like a lot of time. We use our time wisely, don't we? How many of you waste your time? You're wasting it right now. You shouldn't be here. You'll be the judge of that. It's interesting how big God gets when our problems change. When we get frustrated or angry, it's interesting how close God can come to us and how far away God can seem, or how mysterious God can seem. I will extol you, my God. I will bless your name forever. I will praise your name forever. Your greatness is unsearchable. Job lost everything. Great story, great book. Deliciously dark and morbid. Finally, at the end, after having lost everything in the finite world that was supposed to matter, he curses God and says, "Why have you done this to me? I have done everything you've asked me to do, and then some." And out of the clouds come one of the most beautiful poetic responses from God ever put to paper. I'll sum it up for you in one sentence. How dare you question me? I'm God. Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Where were you when I filled the oceans with fish? You know nothing of my infinitude. You are a small-minded speck who has forgotten how large you really are. Now, a lot of people think that God was being nasty and mean. He wasn't. God was encouraging and reminding Job that he is part of a larger, infinite plan. They did a study with some nuns and some priests. And it involved depriving a certain section of the brain from blood. They would meditate and put themselves in a trance, and they took them into a MRI imaging room and took pictures of their brain during this state of meditation. And they discovered that the orientation section in the parietal lobe back here was deprived of blood. And all the people afterwards explained how they felt during their meditative experience. And they all said the same thing. They all said, I felt like I became part of everything that already was. They lost track of time and space. And they concluded from the study that our brains are built with a section to be infinite. That's a remarkable concept. That we have the capacity to leave this little world behind and join everything. Now there are people walking around today who are already part of everything. Aren't they? Huh? You see them in bus stops. You see them in malls. You see them underneath highway stops. We call them homeless. We call them schizophrenic. We call them crazy. We call them a lot of things. And if a doctor gets a hold of them, they'll medicate them to control that part of the brain that has joined the other side. Controversial. Because many of these people's brains have already connected with otherness. And that's what most people who go to churches want. To connect with the great divine. And so when certain people do it in medically inappropriate ways, we stuff that back up and close it with medications. Now, I'm not suggesting that someone who suffers from schizophrenia should stop taking medication. What I am suggesting is that we already understand infinitude because we already have a part of our brain that's capable of grasping more than just this. I've got 2 minutes left. And I want to do something that I could do blindfolded. But I'm not going to do that. I want to read it. You ready? Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is never proud. Love is not rude. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrong. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. Love always protects. Love always hopes. Love always perseveres. Love always trusts. Love never dies. Love is infinite. Now let's change the word. Let's change the word from love to Mark. And as I read it, each of you use your own name. You want to join infinity? You want to understand God's nature? This is it. Mark is kind. Mark is patient. Mark does not envy. Mark does not boast. Mark is not proud. Mark is not rude. Mark is not self-seeking. And Mark is not easily angered. Mark keeps no record of wrongdoings. Mark always protects. Mark always trusts. Mark always hopes. Mark always perseveres. Mark will not die. That's true for you. That's true for me. This aspect of God's nature is our destiny. Many of us already know it. You can live an infinite experience in a finite body if you pay attention to what's really going on around you. I have enjoyed talking with you infinitely.
And us, you, Mark. Our next hymn is God of the Earth, the Sky, the Sea.